Y os vais a venir conmigo al otro lado. Así que subimos las escaleras y nos vamos.
Es verdad, no me acordaba, macho, es verdad, perdón,
Sí.
perdón.
Bueno.
¿Tienes lo que va a ocurrir en la otra? El tema.
¿Pero a quién?
El tema de
Pero
la
si lo
otra
saben
zona.
ellos ya lo saben. Oye, nosotros con vosotros ya tenemos convenio y si no, ¿cómo ha sido tu día?
Sí,
Vamos,
pero bueno.
si no se ha actualizado con el de las 6, pues
claro.
perfecto.
Sí.
Bueno. Oye, este año lo del streaming está bien, ¿eh? Está muy chulo, está muy chulo.
Es que se oye
hay que tener cuidado porque si no podemos estar relajados y empezar a hablar como… Pero,
de los micros
pero es
abiertos.
fantástico. No, pero es fantástico. Es una idea fantástica que hay que ahondar.
Bueno, pues los que estamos por aquí vamos a ir empezando para tener tiempo para disfrutar. Presento a Anton como biólogo, científico, como acuariófilo en 1000 variantes, pero su especialidad sin duda son los cíclidos del oeste de África, o por lo que ha sido conocido durante muchísimos años. Ha descrito alrededor de 30 especies, varios géneros nuevos. Los famosos, la división de Micromys rubricatochromys es uno de sus últimos trabajos. Atocranus también está con ellos. Ayer estuvimos hablando un poquito de novedades que habrá publicadas dentro de poco. Y lo que nos viene a hablar hoy es de cíclidos reófilos, es decir, de zonas de corriente, porque cuando planteamos qué temas iba a tocar, pues nos vamos a ir a algo distinto que no hayamos hecho nunca en las jornadas. La charla la va a dar en inglés y si se va entendiendo, por favor, me lo decís porque yo voy a traducir, pero me gustaría interrumpir lo mínimo posible para que tenga agilidad. Yo creo que se va a entender todo bastante bien con los ejemplos, pero en todo caso me quedo por aquí. Así que… Wenn du möchtest. Sí.
Entonces,
Is this for the for this microphone? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, at first, gracias. Okay. So I put this aside because I hope it works.
Yeah.
Let's check.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, buenos días a todos. Muchas gracias por la invitación. Perdón cuando yo no hablo en español, porque mi español es no bien. I will speak in English, but I will try to speak slow and to use an easy English. And if you have any misunderstanding or question, Manuel Zapata will translate to Spanish. Okay, thank you. So, you heard something about me? Yeah. Okay, then I have to stand still on one place. That's always very difficult for me. Okay, so you have heard a little bit about me. So my big fascination in the aquarium hobby, which I'm doing now since nearly 60 years, are cichlids from West and Central Africa, and a very special group of cichlids in Africa, mainly in West and Central Africa, are the so-called rheophilic cichlids. These are cichlids which are highly adapted to fast-flowing waters. So you only can find them in creeks and rivers and never in lakes. There are several places of distribution of rheophilic cichlids. I have to go now in front to see it properly. But I will speak loud. Can you understand me in the last row? Okay, good. So the main center for rheophilic cichlids is the Congo River region. And in the Congo River region, mostly the lower parts of the Congo, at least as far as we have now explorations from the expeditions, what we know. Then we have a good center also for rheophilic cichlids. This is not really West Africa, but I included this because part of the species of this genus, which is dominant here, part of the species are to find in the Congo region, but also part are to find in the Malagarasi river system and also in southern tributaries of the Lake Tanganyika. And I want to give you a full overview, even when I can say this genus possibly is not one closed genus, maybe in the future it will be divided in different genera. Then we also have one rheophilic species in the region of Namibia, Angola, which is also a very curious thing. And then we can find other rheophilic cichlids in the lower parts of the Niger River system, which is here in the so-called Cross River, and in the most upper part of the Niger River system, we also can find rheophilic cichlids. Perfect. Yeah. So, oh, oops. Okay, is it working? Yeah, good. Good, then I can walk around. So, and also I did not add the, I did not add the ring here, but also in the Volta River, we have one rheophilic species too, which I will show, of course. So let's now go to the habitats. How does a habitat look like for a rheophilic cichlids? As I said, it has to be a river or a creek with a good current. The main part of distribution is the Congo River, like you can see it here in the region of Kinshasa and Brazzaville. And here you can see fast flowing waters and then a lot of rocks. And both structures, the fast flowing waters and the rocks, are the perfect situation for the rheophilic cichlids. You will not find them here in between in the still water. Maybe babies, maybe juveniles are going therein, because here very often the water is shallow and the bigger fish cannot go in. So it's a protection against predators. But the majority of all the rheophilic cichlids you find here in this region, also in the middle there, where the current is really high, but you always have rocks embedded there. And these rocks are the structures where the cichlids hide. So the life of this cichlid is not in the middle of the current. They want to have the fast flowing water because this is like a coverage for the preferred places. The coverage is good because it protects, on the one hand, against predators. On the other hand, the water brings food. But the real life of this fish is between the rocks, in the little caves and cracks which the rocks build. Sometimes they go deep in the ground. Maybe when the rocks are building nice caves, it can be 1 meter deep where the cichlids are going down. And also when we recognize this, then we can understand that, of course, the majority of all these cichlids is not only living in these caves, but they're also breeding in the caves. So most of the rheophilic cichlids are cave brooders. We have no free substratum spawners, but we find mouse brooders. This is a special group I will present, of course. So this is how it looks like in the Congo River. Always a lot of rocks and always a good current where I can find them. In the shallow parts with the sand beds here or so, you will not find this fish I'm talking about. But you find them here in the rocks as long as the current is strong. And the current can be very strong, and sometimes also the depth where you find this fish, not only between the rocks, but also the depths in general is in the Congo River, can be really, really high. Here, the Congo River is the deepest river in the world. It has a maximum depth of about 200 meters. That's really much. And we find one species of cichlid fish in the Congo River, which is living in this current, but also in this depth. So a fish which is living in nearly 200 meters in a current where a normal swimmer never can stand through. And the life of the fish is a typical life of a rheophilic cichlid. It stays in the cave, and sometimes it comes up for a short moment and goes down again to catch some food or so. But mostly they are going around within the rocks.
Por si queda todo bien, comprendido.
Yeah.
Muy rápido. La idea es, ha descrito lo que es el hábitat. Son ríos con mucha corriente y se van a encontrar los peces no en medio de la corriente, pueden estar puntualmente para coger algo de comida, pero viven generalmente dentro de cuevas. Y siempre se reproducen dentro de cuevas, no como en el sustrato, como a lo mejor los cíclidos americanos que pongan los huevos libres porque lógicamente se los llevaría. Y ha hablado también de que el río Congo, que son estas imágenes, tiene hasta 200 metros de profundidad y hay una especie de cíclido que vive a esos 200 metros de profundidad en la corriente. Entonces luego nos lo enseñará, que además tiene una curiosidad importante ese cíclido.
Okay. So out of the Congo, the situation can be a little bit different. Here we find also smaller rivers and creeks with rheophilic cichlids, but also always some with good current. Like you can see here, this creek in Tanzania, which also has a good current. You can see it here. This is a fast-flowing creek, and here we also can find such cichlids, but of course the depth is not very deep. And so you can see how these cichlids hide in the water. They are most time they are laying between the rocks and not often coming out. So if you want to keep them, sometimes you need patience. Just to sit down in front of the aquarium for 5 or 10 minutes, not moving, just watching. But after a while, when the cichlids are adopted for your aquariums, then you will see they are less shy and you can see them more often. As you also can imagine, and you see it here on the first picture, when a cichlid is living in a region with high current or in great depth, does coloration make sense? No, because you cannot see it when the water is very turbulent. You have many particles there. The water is murky. You cannot see clear. When you are deep, the darkness. So most of the fish do not have much coloration. Some exceptions are in the cichlids, which are in the lower waters, the species which are adapted to the lower waters, the smaller creeks. As I said, most of the cichlids are cave brooders, and so when you build up an aquarium, you have to add a lot of stones, put in a lot of caves, make tubular caves as well as rounded caves, because it depends on the species what they prefer. Some species prefer elongated caves, some species prefer rounded caves.
Para poner un acuario con este tipo de peces, lo primero que he dicho es que son muy tímidos porque es su forma de vida normal y que habría que poner tanto rocas redondeadas como cuevas que sean alargadas, porque algunas de ellos prefieren un tipo, otros otro. Y luego, sobre todo, que son cíclidos que en la mayoría no tienen mucho color. Son grises marrones porque la coloración no tiene ningún sentido en aguas que tienen tantas partículas en suspensión.
And also, of course, you need a good current. So you need a good pump, and like we have to do it for every fish, we need a good filtration and a frequent water change. When it comes to water quality, which should be hardness, conductivity, pH, they are not difficult. You can keep them in soft water, what is more close to the natural environment, but they are also easy to keep in hard water and also to breed in hard water. I breed all the cichlids, all the rheophilic cichlids in my tap water I have at home, and this is very hard water, 20 degrees of German hardness and 15 degrees carbonate. That's hard water, and no problem.
En la naturaleza el tipo de agua que tienen es blando, pero se adaptan perfectamente a reproducirse en aguas muy duras. Dice que tiene 20 de pH, 15 de KH.
So the feeding also is easy. You can feed all of the species with normal standard flake food from the trade. Of course, always insect larvae, Daphnia, Cyclops, white worms are always a good thing, but you can keep them and breed them with flake food or with little sticks or so, no problem.
La alimentación que sin ningún problema en cautividad, cualquier tipo de comida seca la aceptan, lógicamente la viva mejor, pero sin problema.
All cave breeding species are pair bounding, or sometimes the male makes something most human males also would like to have. They have a little harem. But usually they are pair bounding. In most cases, all the cave brooders are pair bounding, which means you have to give the chance for two fish to find each other. It can work that you just buy a male and a female and give them in a tank. In many cases, it will work fine, but we should give them a chance. Let's find the perfect couple. So buy a group of fish and wait when the first couple is together, then you remove the other ones, depending on size of the tank. When the tank is very big, you can keep several ones in the tank. When the tank is smaller, and the tank size I would recommend is minimum, no matter which species, minimum 100 liters, then just one. When it is a big tank, 200-300 liters, you can keep a group.
Vale, en acuario mínimo 100 litros y sobre todo que son, la mayoría de ellos forman parejas estables y que lo mejor es partir de un grupo en un acuario de 100 litros, dejar una sola pareja. Si el acuario es mucho más grande, se pueden mantener varias juntas.
They are good parents, but usually not doing it in the way like many other pair-bounding cichlids are doing it. We know from other pair-bounding cichlids that they always swim around in a big area with the babies around and attacking every other fish which comes too close. This is not the case with all the rheophilic ones. The babies stay in a small area, and this area the parents protect. So they are not moving through a big tank. They are always staying here, and the babies are in the surroundings, and here the parents take care. And then in a big tank, it can happen that here you have the next pair with the group of fry.
No se dedican a pasear los alevines como otros cíclidos, sino que protegen un territorio pequeño y los alevines se mantienen dentro de ese territorio. Entonces, en un acuario grande puede haber varias parejas con sus territorios, con sus crías y no se van a tocar.
And there is one good thing when you breed them. The broods are usually not very big, maybe in most species 30, 40 babies at most, some species even less than 10, and this is a normal brood. But when the next brood is coming up, you can keep the former babies in the same tank. The parents are not chasing them away, and the bigger sisters are not eating the smaller ones. So you can make 4, 5, 6 broods in a line in one tank without removing babies.
Cuando van a reproducirse los padres por segunda vez, no expulsan a los hermanos mayores y los hermanos mayores tampoco se comen a los pequeños. Entonces se puede mantener en un acuario 5 o 6 crías de distintos tamaños porque los grupos son pequeños y se van a mantener todos en el mismo territorio.
In the mouse brooders, it's a little bit different. The mouse brooders are all belonging to the group of haplochromines, so related to the cichlids from Lake Victoria and Lake Malawi. And here, the male holds a bigger territory. The male, the structure is polygamous, so only a female which is ready to spawn is coming to the male, spawns with the male, and then swims away and takes care of the eggs and of the larvae in the mouse for 2 to 3 weeks. After this time, maybe for 1 week, the babies can stay close to the mother, come back in the mouse when there is a problem, but then the brood care ends. And then you have to remove the small fish from the big one. That's for the mouse brooders.
También hay incubadores bucales que son haplocrominos relacionados sobre todo con los del Victoria y Malawi. Y aquí pues es la típica manera de reproducir polígama. La incubación es corta, 2-3 semanas, y luego los cuidadores de la madre pueden ser 1 semana más. Y a partir de ahí hay que retirar los alevines porque si no se los comen.
So, and usually it's easy to keep them. You can keep them when the tank is big enough with other fish, as long as the other fish are not too small. And of course, when you want to breed with them, the other fish should not be too aggressive. But then it's relatively easy to work with this fish. And even when they have no big coloration, they're really lovely, nice, and very interesting fellows for the aquarium.
se pueden mantener con otras especies siempre que no sean muy pequeñas y siempre que no depreden sobre las crías de estos, claro.
And now I will come to the different species to present to you. Let's start with the mouse brooders. We have,
Los incubadores bucales, para empezar.
So we have one mouse brooder, which is from Tanzania. As I said, they are all belonging to the group of Haplochromines. And this one is even at the moment a member of the genus Haplochromys, which is from the Ruaha River system in the southern part of Tanzania. Here you can see a male, and here you can see a female. So you can see, even when in Haplochromines, usually males are much more colorful than females. In the rheophilic cichlids, the difference is not so big. But nevertheless, they are typical Haplochromine mouse brooders, which are doing their job like I explained to you before. The fish was discovered about 20 years ago by Hans van Heusden, which was the one which is responsible that the fish now got the name. And it's at the moment rare in the hobby. We still have it, but there was a first boom when we got it in. But now in the meantime, maybe 5 or 10 people in Europe are still having them. I guess most of them are from France.
Este Haplochromys fue descubierto hace unos 20 años, hubo un gran boom cuando lo trajeron a Europa, pero ahora probablemente no haya más de 5 o 10 personas que lo sigan teniendo, sobre todo en Francia, dicho. Arriba el macho, abajo la hembra, y es un poco por ver el contraste con los otros del lago Victoria o Malawi, donde los machos son muy coloreados y aquí prácticamente no hay ninguna diferencia.
So the next genus, which is coming from the mouse brooding group, is the genus Orthochromys. And this is the genus where I said before, maybe in some years it will be split in several different genera. We have one group of this genus to find in the Congo River system. We have one group to find in southern tributaries of the Congo, some directly in the Congo River. Then we have one group, and this will be the original group, which is from the river Malagarasi. And then we even have one from a tributary south of Lake Tanganyika. So it's and even at the moment one in Namibia and Angola. So it's very splitted, and as you will see, in some species the morphology looks pretty different. So this is not a closed genus, but at the moment they are all Orthochromys. So for example, we have Orthochromys calungvisiensis from the southern Congo River system, tributaries of the Congo River system. And what I should also tell on this part now, I did not speak about the size of the fishes. I said in general they are not very big. So the minimum size, the smallest rheophilic cichlids, gets a size of 6 centimeters. So really small. I will show it later on. And the biggest rheophilic cichlid gets about 20 centimeters. So they are not very big. And the most common range of 95% of all species is around 10 centimeters. This is the reason why I said 100 liters for a pair is okay. With this you can start. What's not too big for a cichlid in general.
No había comentado él antes el tamaño. El más pequeño de los rheofílicos son unos 6 centímetros, el más grande unos 20, pero la gran mayoría de las especies alrededor de 10 centímetros. Y por eso el poder mantener una pareja en un acuario de 100 litros sin ningún problema. Ha dicho también de este género Orthochromys que tiene una distribución muy grande y que vamos a ver que no se parecen morfológicamente mucho y que seguramente se dividirá en varios géneros distintos.
So in Orthochromys, in all the species, we are mostly, with one exception, I will tell you later on, around 10 centimeters. So this is really the standard measurement for this genus. So, and what you also can see here, we know from most Haplochromines that they have so-called egg dummies. The egg dummies are to see here, stronger in the males than in the female. And the egg dummies are when the spawning is going on. The female places the eggs, the male fertilizes them, but the female is pretty fast to take the eggs in the mouth. Sometimes she takes the eggs in the mouth before the male has the chance to go over to fertilize the eggs.
Sí, las marcas de huevo como otros cíclidos en los que la hembra pone los huevos, el macho los fertiliza girando y luego la hembra los coge rápidamente en la boca, pues estos también hacen parecido, pero como veis incluso las hembras tienen marcas también.
But of course, the eggs should be fertilized. So the male presents the egg dummies to the female, and the egg dummies are always looking like more or less the eggs of this species. And then the female thinks, okay, I forgot some eggs, wants to pick them up. And when the female then nibbles on the fin, the male releases the sperm and fertilizes the eggs. And as very often, the males make a small pit, not big, not deep, makes a small pit. There's usually, after a while of the spawning event, you have a kind of a little lake of sperm on the ground of this pit. So then when the eggs are released, they are always directly released in this little lake of sperm. So the fertilization is guaranteed in a very good way.
Dice que hacen unos pequeños cráteres los machos y directamente echan el esperma allí, como es más denso que el agua, queda abajo, entonces la fertilización de los huevos está asegurada, no tiene por qué ser al coger la hembra la aleta del macho en la boca, sino que ya hay una densidad alta en el fondo del cráter.
But not all haplochromines have egg dummies. We can see them here. But when you look here, we have no egg dummies in this male of Calambrusiensis. That means that the process is now fixed so well within the evolutionary pathway of this species that the egg dummies are not necessary anymore. But when I say not necessary anymore, it's also not absolutely correct, because in the meantime, we know from scientific research that in some lineages, the fishes with the egg dummies are the older ones, but in other lineages, the ones without egg dummies are the older ones. So we still have to make a lot of research in this. It's very interesting.
Es muy interesante la investigación porque en principio se considera que tener marcas de huevo es un rasgo primitivo desde el punto de vista de evolución, porque la mayoría de las especies que los han perdido son las más nuevas, pero también hay otras líneas de cíclidos en las que es justo al revés. Las especies que no tienen marcas de huevo son las más antiguas de esos grupos. Entonces están intentando investigar sobre cómo se ha producido esta diversificación.
But the breeding behavior is the same for all the species. So, okay. So here you can see also again one Calambrusiensis, always typical shape, elongated, not much coloration, not really big fins in this species. That's the typical shape, the typical appearance of a rheophilic cichlid, no matter which one it is. Then we have another Orthochromis, which is from a tributary of the Malagarasi River, Orthochromis rubrolabialis with red lips. Also, you can see when you compare with the hands, standard measurement about 10 centimeters. And this is the river where you can find rubrolabialis. And this river does not look like one with a high current, but in these small tributaries, you have a strong influence of the rainy season and dry season situation. So when there is the rainy season, this is really a very fast flowing river. And when you have the highest point of the dry season, this is not flowing so much. And this is the critical situation for the fish. And a majority of the fish dies in this situation. We have even one case where one species in one of the tributaries was discovered in the 90s. And then about 10 years later, there was a very extreme dry season where this river was falling totally dry. And this species is now extinct. Discovered in the 90s, extinct in the 20s.
Este río que dice que no parece un río que tenga mucha corriente, pero cuando llega la época de lluvia sí que tiene una corriente muy fuerte, y que hay una especie que se descubrió en los años 90. En los 10 años después hubo un episodio de sequía bastante fuerte, el río se secó completamente y ya no se ha vuelto a encontrar esa especie. Se cree que está extinta.
And the reason for such things, we, humans. because the species needed some 10,000 years to evolve, had never a problem, but with the increasing climate change, the dry seasons are getting longer and longer and longer in some parts of the world, and this kills a lot of animals. So, yeah. Okay. So next, then, directly from the Malagarasi River, and you can see it with the name also, it is really occurring there, Orthochromis malagarasiensis, a more gray species, easy to keep, absolutely easy to breed. We also still have it available in Europe. Then here again, a dominant male when it's courting, so that's a kind of maximum coloration this fish can get. But yeah, but nevertheless, they are specialized fish, they are interesting fish, and especially in the region of the Malagarasi River. The species which are directly in the Malagarasi River are more or less broadly common because this is a big river with a stable situation. But all the species in the small tributaries, you have one species for one tributary. So they have restricted distribution. That's the reason why they are so fragile, so sensible, why so easy a bad thing can happen.
La mayoría de estas especies son de solo algunos afluentes del río Malagarasi, que es uno de los afluentes principales del lago Tanganica.
So here you can see the river Malagarasi. Looks very quiet, but when you swim therein, you can see there is a good current. And it has also rapids where you can find also some of these cichlids. This Orthochromis species red, which is not really red, but it has some reddish dots in the fins and here on the body, is the smallest of the genus. This grows up to about 8 centimeters. And it's rare. It's only occurring in a very small region within the Malagarasi River, a stretch of maybe 50 kilometers where you can find it. It was never imported for the hobby, unfortunately.
Esta especie es la más pequeñita de este grupo, unos 8 centímetros, y solo se encuentra en un rango de unos 50 kilómetros del río Malagarasi, que todavía no se ha importado nunca desde allí.
Then we have Orthochromis ovincae, which is also directly from the Malagarasi River in the region of the town of Ovinca. This is a bigger one, which grows about 11-12 centimeters with some nice patterns in the dorsal fin and also the cheeks with the yellowish. I think it's a nice fish, very common in the river. You can find them in the more upper region where the water is a little bit straight flowing, but you also can find them in a very special region of the Malagarasi River in the so-called Igamba Falls, which are also rapids and small waterfalls which are endangered because the Tanzanian government is planning to build a power plant there. Yeah. And this will mean the extinction of about 10 to 15 fish species, which are only occurring there, but not only fish. You have specialized snails there, you have specialized dragonflies, water beetles, and also some other animals which are not in the water, but are hanging on the structure of the rapids, and plants, of course, too.
Esta es la zona de las cataratas de Igamba, que son unos rápidos, y el gobierno de Tanzania está planteando hacer una presa para hacer una planta de corriente eléctrica allí. Entonces eso supondría la extinción de 10-15 especies de peces, más luego todo lo que hay asociado de caracoles especializados, libélulas y escarabajos acuáticos y un montón de otros bichos.
And this is also dry season. There you can see many rocks here and the water is flowing here and you have some pools in between. And so this is the space for all type of fish, no matter if cichlids or barbs or catfish, which are adapted to high current, to rapids, to waterfall. Very special place. Here's one of the pools. Of course, in the dry season, some fish have to survive here, but it's not so easy for them. A lot of fish is dying. And you can find 2 members of the species Orthochromis in this region of the waterfall. The one is an undescribed species. It's the most elongated Orthochromis species Igamba, which looks more like a Gobiozichla, which comes from the Niger. And it doesn't look like a mouse brooder, but it's also a mouse brooder like the other ones. But grows to a size of about 10 centimeters, very elongated, and the maximum size of a brood is 4 to 5 eggs. So you can imagine, on the one hand, it's a challenge for the aquarium hobby because they need the good water conditions and all this, but also a challenge for the occurrence in the wild because the reproduction rate is not very high. Also critically endangered.
Esta es una especie muy amenazada por su propia especialización. Es muy alargado, parece un oviocicla más que un ortochromis. Los oviociclas son de otro sistema. Y la reproducción no es de más de 4 o 5 huevos. Entonces es difícil de mantener en acuario por eso, pero también el riesgo que tiene la naturaleza por la poca tasa de reproducción.
So here you can see them in the nature, sitting on the rocks and eating algae and Aufwuchs and detritus, some stuff, always nibbling on the stones, like we know it from cichlids from Lake Malawi. It's a very similar situation. We will see if there is 1 minute left after the talk, I can show a short movie. Okay. But this is a real photo from the Igamba Falls when I was there diving.
Se alimentan como los embunas del Malawi, mordiendo todo lo que hay encima de las rocas, algas, lo que pillen.
So here a fish in the aquarium. Here you can see a spawning event that the female nibbles now on the region of the anal fin of the male, and they are always circling around. This can be a procedure of about 1 hour, 1.5 hours for 4 to 5 eggs. Sometimes even 1 or 2.
Eso es la reproducción en acuario, puede durar entre hora y hora y media todo el proceso y a veces no ponen más de 1 o 2 huevos.
Some people say fish are always making quickies. Here it's not the case. Yeah. And here you can see the female mouse brooding. The eggs are like typical for an haplochromine, are big eggs. So the incubation time is close to 3 weeks. When the juveniles are coming out, they are more than 1 centimeter. They are immediately eating Artemia shrimps, freshly hatched ones, or small flakes. So when you have babies, it's easy to raise them up. The challenge is to get babies because what's also, of course, the problem with haplochromines, the intraspecific aggressivity is always high. And also the aggressivity of a male against a female, which is not ready to have some games. So you need bigger tanks for these and a lot of caves that the female can hide so that it can have a quiet situation and that the male cannot touch her too much.
De que la agresividad intraespecífica es muy grande y la de los machos contra las hembras que no están para reproducirse también. Entonces, para estos acuarios más grandes y con muchísimos escondites.
So, another one from a tributary of the Malagarasa River, possibly the most colorful orthochromis is Orthochromis luichiensis from the Luichi River, also just on a small stretch of this river to find. But a nice species. We lost it in the hobby. It did not want to breed. Here is the Luichi River, also in the dry season, but also in the dry season, it had a good current. Then we have Kasuluensis from the Kasulu River, all named after the small tributaries of the Malagarasa River, where they occur. Here is the Kasulu in the dry season, because in the rainy season you cannot go in. It's too problematic. You will be killed with the current.
De que las fotos son todas en la época seca, porque lógicamente en la época de lluvias es imposible llegar allí por la corriente, no podrías meterte en el río.
And then in the most upper parts of Tanzania, then Orthochromis ibex is a species, or Mosoensis we collected, a smaller one too. And then we jump over to the Congo River system, the Orthochromis of the Congo River system. Here we have the best known in the aquarium hobby, Orthochromis stormsea. This one grows a little bit bigger. It can go up to 15 centimeters and is very common, frequently imported. It comes with the standard imports from the Congo River, from Kinshasa, from Brazzaville. But also same breeding structure, same system as all the other Orthochromis.
Este dice que es la especie más comúnmente importada porque desde el Congo las importaciones que hacen generalmente incluyen esta especie de 15 centímetros y que se mantiene bien en acuario.
But of course this one in the future will not be an Orthochromis anymore.
Este será de los que se reclasifiquen en otro género porque ya se ve que no se parecen nada a los anteriores.
Here you see the spawning, the male. the female with the genital papilla, and this is the pit they make. So as they are not digging very much, of course, you can keep aquarium plants with such fish. It's not a problem.
No tocan demasiado el sustrato, entonces se pueden mantener en acuarios plantados. Ahí tiene la pequeña depresión que decía, donde deja el esperma el macho y pone los huevos la hembra.
And here, mouse brooding female.
La hembra incubando.
Then very similar is Orthochromis polyacanthus, but more rarely coming in the hobby because it is from a part of the Congo River system where we are not getting many collections.
Este es de una zona en la que no se colectan muchos peces, entonces es muy raro en el hobby.
And the most southern Orthochromis, which is of course also no Orthochromis, in fact, but at the moment it's still therein, is Orthochromis machadoi. This is possibly more related to small mouse brooders of the genus Pseudocrenilabrus, and it's one of the smallest mouse breeding rheophiles, grows to 6 centimeters, but this one is really a terror in the tank. Yeah, I had them, I could breed them, but a 6 centimeter fish for which you need a 2 meter tank at minimum. So aggressive, but not against other fish.
Only intra.
Only within the species.
Okay.
And they are so aggressive when there is not enough space and enough possibilities to hide. They are just living of the principle of the Highlander. You know the movie Highlander? The principle of the Highlander is there only can be one. And when you only have one, you can trust me, it's pretty difficult to breed. Okay, but however, also this one is existing so far in the south, in the system of the so-called Kunene River.
Lo que ha contado es solo 6 centímetros, pero mínimo 2 metros de acuario para intentar mantenerlos, pero que es como la película de los inmortales, solo puede quedar uno.
And here you can see the bigger and colorful male, colorful, yes, and the smaller female aside. And here now a mouse brooding female. I could breed them for 1 generation, but then even with the big tank.
Lo pudo criar una generación, pero nada, imposible de mantener a largo tiempo.
Son peces muy loco. Yeah. Again, mouse brooding female. You can see the big eggs here.
How many eggs, more or less?
The maximum I had was a little bit less than 15. I think 12, 13, something like this. Yeah. Small fish, so also not many eggs.
12-13 huevos, lo máximo que él consiguió.
Now we jump over to a very special part of the Congo River system, the so-called Lac Fra FWA region, which is a spring pot where the spring is coming out with a high current, and there you have unique fish which are only to find their endemic fish, and one of the species is also a rheophilic haplochromine.
Esto es en la zona del lago Fua, en el sistema del Congo, que realmente es un manantial, donde surge el agua con mucha corriente.
And I have to speed up, otherwise I'll destroy your plants. Oh, sorry. So this one is Schwetzochromis neodon, a very beautiful one. Here you can see the male, here the female. They grow up to about 12 centimeters. The aggressivity is medium. They are swimming more than the usual rheophilic cichlid. So you need a big tank. But when you keep them in a group, let me say 2, 3 males and about 6, 7, 8 females, then it works well in a tank with some possibilities to hide, and you always can get fry. And the coloration is, I think, interesting to look at.
Este es de los más nadadores de todo este grupo de cíclidos, entonces él recomienda mantener en grupos de 2, 3 machos, 6, 8 hembras, y entonces la agresividad se controla bastante bien.
And we should still have them in the aquarium hobby, I think. Imports from Lac Fa are rare, but we still should have them.
Así que todavía deberían quedar para en algunos aficionados.
So, and now we switch over to the cave brooders. So no more mouse brooding. Now they need caves to breed, pair bounding, territories which are held by a couple. Start with the genus Lamprologus. Normalmente on conosco la Lamprologus de la Lac Tanganyika. Pero la Lamprologus rheophilico son solo a la Riviera Rio de Congo, regiones diferentes de Rio Congo. El especie, okay, yeah, maybe I will dare here or there to make a little bit more Spanish, then it's easier and faster. So this is the type species of the genus Lamprologus. Lamprologus congoensis, so, and as the name indicates, we find it in the Congo River. Es la especie más común porque il est possible de collecter, maybe a little bit mixed with French, so possible de collecter le Lamprologus congoensis a la región de Kinshasa et Brazzaville, qui est la station mejor pour les collectors. So, un femelle, this was French, sorry. The females, when they are breeding, are getting very dark, nearly black.
Las hembras se ponen así de negras en reproducción.
Females are maybe 10 centímetros, machos sometimes 20 centimeters.
Machos hasta 20 centímetros, las hembras 8 o 10.
And the same is for Lamprologus werneri, which is a very elongated species, more elongated than congoensis, but also frequently coming. The only thing you have to take care is the imports are very often mixed because the species are occurring in overlapping regions. So you always have to look for the deeper bodied ones. These are the congoensis, and the more elongated ones are the werneri. There are other things, count of dorsal spines and so, but that's too difficult. When you see them in the trade, take the elongated ones together and take the deep-bodied together.
Llegan importaciones de esa zona muchas veces mezcladas la especie anterior y esta. Entonces, si se quieren seleccionar, los más alargados son el werneri y los otros son congoensis. Pero que muchas veces pueden venir una mezcla y coger los más.
This is also werneri, and there can be a little bit variation de coloration. Sometimes the males can have silver dots in both species. Silver dots on the body, sometimes few, sometimes many, sometimes nothing. So this is all then within the same species. And this is a male now without any dots, for example. Here you can see also a male with few dots in this region. And here you can see the female in the cave. The females also, when breeding, are getting very dark. And it's not difficult to breed them when the aquarium is big enough, when the food is good enough, when they feel fine, they start to breed. It's nearly not to avoid. And per brood, you can have up to 200 babies.
Estos sí que llegan ya a sacar hasta 200 alevines y dice que en el momento que están estables en el acuario que son muy fáciles de criar.
A rare species in the hobby is Lamprologus mocardi, which is occurring a little bit more upstream from Kinshasa and not collected very often. We had it for a while in the aquarium hobby, but at the moment we have lost, so we do not have it.
Esta especie viene de aguas arriba, entonces no se suele colectar y que se tuvo en la afición, pero que se ha perdido.
So here you have the male, the big male, and the female. So here you can see them courting a little bit. And here it's not so good to see the female in front of a cave. And there are small, it's always a challenge for me too to find the fry, because the fry, when they are swimming free, they are extremely small, but nevertheless they eat brine shrimps. And as soon as you come to the tank, they are falling to the ground. Here is one, for example, and you cannot differentiate it from the stones, but that's perfect camouflage.
Las crías son muy pequeñas, se camuflan muy bien, Son difíciles de ver, pero se alimentan de artemia nada más empezar a nadar, así que se pueden sacar adelante bien.
Yeah, okay. So, and here also the female with the babies. Here can see baby, here can see a baby. And there are maybe 30 babies in this area here. But because of the structure of the substrate, and so they're not to see. So this is really a good protection of the babies. And also now in the cave brooders, you can have several broods in a line without a problem.
Estos también pueden mantener varias crías de distintos tamaños, de distintas veces, juntos.
Here the babies are a little bigger, so they are now easier to see. This is also a Lamprologus mocardi from a little bit different region, like normal. It comes from a tributary which goes up the direction to Cameroon, but still in the Congo. But it has a big distribution, unfortunately, always in parts where collectors are not going to.
Era la misma especie, pero de una zona diferente hacia Camerún. Lo que pasa es que dice que hay muchas variables, o muchas variedades, pero normalmente no es fácil ir a colectarlos allí. Los exportadores no van.
The most beautiful Lamprologus is Lamprologus markati. We have it in the hobby. The males grow up to 12 centimeters. Really beautiful fish in the males. This is the female. And the males, they are always courting. They are really, really great looking.
Dice que es la especie más bonita y que sí que está en el hobby sin problemas.
The next one is Lamprologus tigripictilis, a more grayish one, and a big growing one. Males can grow to 15 centimeters. Females, when they are ready to spawn or when they are keeping fry, they have this pattern: one broad black band, one small one, one broad, one small one. That's typical for this species.
Ese es el dibujo que tienen las hembras cuando crían, una banda ancha, una estrecha, así alternas.
So here you can see the courting situation. Nice fish from the shape, but not colorful. And one of the most rare Lamprologus is Lamprologus teugelsee. This is a bycatch which I got from a collection downstream of Kinshasa, the only one I ever saw.
Este es una especie muy rara, el anterior.
And this is the most spectacular cichlid. This is the king of kings, the crown of crowns, when you want to keep rheophilic cichlids. Lamprologus letops, living in 150 to 200 meters depth. Blind, no eyes. This is natural situation. The fish is blind. Absolutely no coloration. When you are in total, absolute, perfect darkness, you do not need coloration. Grows also up to about 12 centimeters. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And there was only one import. Oliver Lucanus from Canada could manage it to get some of this fish. It was an enormous procedure. And then the price of the fish, he got 6 fish. And the price then was to sell them, he sold them after a while, was $20,000 for one. $20,000 for one. Because Oliver, to get these 6 fish, had to invest nearly $50,000. Yeah. He had to find a collector which was willing to go to the place where they live, which was willing to spend the time, because it was bringing down a cage to catch the fish in this depth, and then every day to bring up this cage 5 to 10 meters because of the decompression problem. Mm-hmm. And when he got the fish in Canada, they had air bladders under the scales. Mm-hmm. He had to open every air bladder and to disinfect it. So you can imagine what work it was to get it, how difficult it was to get it. And this was the first and only one time ever. The fish was discovered in 1976, the species. And since this time, it was the only time ever when we got this fish to see the life. Oliver tried to breed them, but it was not possible. So they were going to Japan. Yeah.
No sé si habéis entendido este pez. Este es el que vive por debajo de 150 metros de profundidad en el río Congo. Se ha conseguido coger vivo una sola vez. Oliver Lucanus en Canadá gastó $50.000 para conseguir pescarlos y llevarlos a Canadá y no los consiguió reproducir y los acabó vendiendo a $20.000 cada uno a un japonés.
Okay, I will quick now stories just showing species because, Lampolurgus ruxi never was in the aquarium hobby. It's not rare, but also in a region where we cannot collect. Another relationship of Rheophilix, the relationship to Pelvicochromis and Nanochromis, is the genus Teleogramma, where we have a lot of different species, which we can mainly differentiate from the outer experience by the coloration of the caudal fin.
Los teleogramas que se pueden distinguir básicamente por la coloración de la aleta caudal, no mucho más. Están emparentados con los Pelvicochromis y Nanochromis.
All the teleogramma are very elongated. The basic coloration is black, a little bit reddish here, sometimes a little bit reddish here. That's all. And frequently in the hobby, we only get two species, Teleogramma brichardi. Like you can see here, the female with a red belly. This means I'm ready to spawn. And Teleogramma depressor or CF depressor, which is more flattened. Only these two species could make it in a broader way in the aquarium hobby. We have some in Europe at the moment. They like to live in small cracks or so, also in the wild. They are living in the highest current and in very small cracks, but not in great depth.
Estos viven en, como veis ahí, en zonas muy estrechas con mucha corriente y es donde se refugian.
And females can be very beautiful when they are ready to spawn. Teleogramma gracile, we have only photos from scientific collections. This is maybe a gracile which came as a bycatch. Monogramma never was here. And now we are going to another relationship, which are tilapines. All the ones I show now are from the relationship to tilapia. We have three genera therein. We have Gobiozichla etelvine, very elongated, occurring in the most upper regions of the Niger River system in Guinea.
Estos están emparentados con las tilapias.
And not in the most upper regions, in the lower tributary region. This was my confusion. In the hearing, this is from the Cross River system in Cameroon. This is how the river looks like, and there this fish was collected. And Gobiozichla etelvine, even when we know it since 20 years, frequently in the aquarium hobby, we never could breed it. We do not know why.
Hace 20 años que se tienen en acuario, pero nadie los ha conseguido reproducir nunca.
Male and female, we always had both sexes, but they never spawned. And this is now from the most upper regions of the Niger River system in Guinea, Gobiozichla wanderi. This is frequently coming in, and this one we could breed.
Este sí que se ha conseguido reproducir.
Also a very elongated cave brooder, the female here, not too difficult to keep and to breed. Then the second genus we find in the Walter River system, which is Paragobiozichla irvinei, a big growing fish. The Gobiozichla grow up to 10 centimeters, Paragobiozichla males up to 20 centimeters. Very impressive, very beautiful fish, but with a good aggressivity, so you need big tanks.
Estos sí que llegan hasta 20 centímetros los machos y bastante agresivos. Was this one the Steatocranus?
Paragobiozichla.
Yeah.
Once it was Steatocranus, okay. But now it's Paragobiozichla.
Es el que antes era Steatocranus irvinei.
Yeah, very dark colored here, the male, and the typical signal is the blue lip they have. So, and now the last genus, which is the most common one in the aquarium hobby, is the genus Steatocranus. They are all coming from the Congo River system, most in the central parts, but some in the outer edges. Casuarius, the species Casuarius, the buffalo head or lion head cichlid, is the most common one in the aquarium hobby. Very easy to keep, very easy to breed. You can have a group in the aquarium when, let me say, the aquarium has at least 150, 200 liters. And the more dominant a male is, the bigger the hump is.
Cuanto más dominante es el macho, más grande es la cabeza.
So, yeah. Sometimes size matters. Yeah, but beautiful and very interesting fish, even when they are only gray. I think they are beauties by themselves, and they are fish with character. They have a character head, and in some cases, they're not reminding me to a fish, they're more reminding me to a big monkey, like a gorilla or something like this.
Sé que son peces con mucho carácter, pero no del malo, que a veces recuerdan a gorilas, ¿no? Con esa cabeza que tienen.
And these are the females. Females are always smaller, not such a strong finnage, and not such strong heads like the males have.
Las hembras.
Stertocranus also can grow up, the Casuarius, to 15 centimeters in the males. We have a group of different species which have been discovered in the last years on several parts of the Congo River system, where we do not know exactly if they are new species or are they just morphs of known species. I show some of these here, not all, but just, for example, this brown pearl, which was discovered by Uli Schlieven, looks a little bit more like the Casuarius.
Ahora hay unos cuantos morfos que se han encontrado en los últimos años y no está claro si van a ser nuevas especies o simplemente variantes de algunas ya
A
conocidas.
typical character for Casuarius is dark scales with pale margins. What you can see here too, but a little bit different. Dark scales with pale surroundings, pale margins.
El patrón es justo el contrario que en los casuarios, que tienen el borde de las escamas oscuro y la escama clara, y estos es justo al revés, el centro oscuro y el borde claro.
Or another species, also dark scales, pale margins, but much more elongated than the Casuarius or the other ones.
Es parecido al anterior, pero mucho más alargado.
Then we have a described species, Stertocranus gibiceps. Looks very similar to the Casuarius, but has pale scales with dark margins. So this is where you can differentiate them, because sometimes you find both mixed in one import.
Estos pueden venir mezclados con los casuarios en algunas importaciones, pero entonces hay que fijarse en el borde y el centro de las escamas, que es justamente al revés.
But also very impressive humps this species can develop. Then we have Stertocranus tinanti, a very elongated one with an extremely big mouth, but not such a big hump. Also a fish which grows up to 12 centimeters. Here you can see a male from the side with a female here, a female here. So this is a species which sometimes likes to make it with 2 or 3 ladies at the same time.
Esta especie sí que a veces mantiene un macho con 2, 3 hembras a la vez. Se reproduce con todas ellas.
But also when you have this situation in your aquarium, usually the fries coming up is accepted by all the other big fish in the tank and no need to remove something. Only when you recognize that one female is to kick too much, then you remove this female.
Que incluso cuando pasa esto, las crías son aceptadas por todo el resto de hembras y no hay por qué retirarlas, aunque se muevan entre los territorios de las distintas hembras.
Also another male which has no big mouth like this one before, and here a male with a very big mouth. Really impressive fish when you see them in the aquarium. They look very dangerous, but they are not very aggressive against other fish. Then we have similar one from the region of Yalala. We do not know a species or just the same, or this one, the male from Yalala in the Congo. Then we have a similar one, which is called species ultra slender, smaller than tinanti and more elongated.
Este es más pequeño y mucho más alargado que el anterior. Pero son
They
todos
start to breed with the females 4 centimeters, the male like 6 or 7 centimeters.
Y empiezan a criar cuando las hembras llegan a unos 4 centímetros.
Here is a male, but also very nice fish. Then we have a species I just could collect by accident, one specimen in the Congo, species squarehead, not described yet.
El anterior, él colectó solo uno en el Congo, entonces está sin describir.
Similar is Stertocranus bleheri, which was common for a while in the aquarium hobby, but we lost it also in the meantime.
El Blairi fue común pero en el hobby, pero también se ha perdido.
Here you can see also the cave where they spawn, and here is the acceptance of another one.
Ahí es donde están criándose.
Yeah, they like the caves where they stand before. Yeah, maybe then a little bit for other talks, a little bit less light here in this region. Then it might be better to see the pictures. So here you can see Daddy with the babies. And this, can we maybe turn out that, can we turn out this, turn off? That we can see it hopefully a little bit better. No, it's because it is to see, this is the adult one. Here we have an intermediate one, here we have a smaller one, and here we have an even smaller one. And here also, this one is a very small baby. This should be the documentation that you can have different broods in one aquarium. Then Glaber, which is a described species, but we never had it in aquarium hobby, also from downstream of Kinshasa. Also from downstream Kinshasa, Mpotsoensis. We also never had it alive in the aquarium hobby, unfortunately.
Estos dos últimos nunca se han tenido en acuario. Están descritas, pero no han llegado.
An undescribed species upstream of Kinshasa, Blockhead. Then we have this Steatocranus ubanguensis, which is coming from the most northern parts of the Congo River system in the Central African Republic, which we never had in the hobby. For a while, we thought this species could be Ubanguensis, but now we know this is an undescribed species. Dwarf, the smallest Steatocranus we know. Easy to breed. I have a good group at the moment at home, which is working pretty well. Every 1.5 months, I have a small brood of about 5 to 10 babies. And here also, even when small, 6 centimeters, but he tries to pose the boy.
Que este es el más pequeño de todas las especies, unos 6 centímetros, y que a él le crían cada mes y medio entre 5 y 10 alevines.
Looking impressive too, and sometimes they are so small that they can breed in Tanganyika snail shells.
Que pueden criar como conchícolas.
Also here, the male. Here you see baby in the cave. And here you also can see a bigger young one and a small young one, and here another small young one. So this is how it works without any problem. Similar species have been found where we do not know, undescribed, yes or no. Also, this one is a Steatocranus we found in a tributary, or not we, Uli Schlieven, found them in a tributary of the Congo River system in Cameroon, so pretty far away from Kinshasa. So we have a big number of different species, all with impressive heads. And one species, the last one now, which is also an impressive one, unfortunately we have it in hobby, is an undescribed from about 150 kilometers upstream from the Congo River system. It's the species red eye, or sometimes species Kwango. When you see this young one, it has no red eye, it has a blue eye. But when they are adult and becoming dominant, they are getting the red eye. Less than 10 centimeters, but very impressive head. And when you look at this head, it doesn't look like a fish head. So
no le parece una cabeza de pez.
Really, cut away the body and look only on the head. Isn't it like a big ape? Like this? Really fascinating fish. Absolutely characters. Wonderful to keep. Wonderful to breed. Like at the end, all these rheophilic cichlids are to keep and to breed. I can just recommend, if you want interesting fish with relatively low requirements for the water chemistry, keep it with the rheophilics. Try to work with them. Just add caves. You can keep plants, and then you will have success. And now we have it. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Do you want to show us the video now? Do you want to show us the video now? The video, the short video.
You can.
You want to show
the
the video?
the video. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Is it short video?
If there is still time, then I can show it. It's on. I think I should have it on the stick and not on the computer. Yeah.
Voy a poner un vídeo ahora, el vídeo que he dicho, muy cortito, ¿vale?
So. So here you can see the current is pretty strong. This is species Igamba, the mouse brooder. This is the situation where the fish are usually living. So I have one more shot, if it's okay. So. It's also not easy to snorkel there. And you see two species here. This elongated one is the Igamba, and the more deeper bodied you see here on the picture is Uwintse. Yeah, now in the middle is Uwintse, and on the right side you saw for a short moment. This more? Okay. And just a last advice maybe for keeping rheophilic fish, and not only rheophilic fish like this in the aquarium, you saw a very high current here. And when you have a problem with aggressive fish, add current. Because when the water is quiet, then one fish is standing here, the aggressor can come, swim like this and bang. When the current is very high, the aggressor stands also against the current, and when it wants to move to kick this, the current is pushing him back. So it avoids a lot of aggression. And we had good success, for example, with big aggressive Cranizichla, which are very difficult to keep successful in aquarium. Just to add a really strong pump, and then all Cranizichla were standing like sorted in like sardines and trying to balance against the current. And then sometimes it was like whoosh, 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 like this. Worked well. Okay.
Thank you.
So, thank you. So.
Ahora paramos para el coffee.
Tenéis que salir por arriba siguiendo mi compañera Laura, por favor. Y vamos a la tercera planta.
Ya.
Y aquí a las 2:30 puntuales, por favor.
Ok.
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo va de...
Would you sign your book?
I can sign, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dame el libro, anda.
Hay que tener fiebre, ¿eh? Entonces vamos a hacer un cafilazo, ¿no? ¿Apago la cámara?
Déjamela de momento, ya ahora termino la emisión. Y no... Estamos cada vez peor.